Hello everyone at the Wrestling Roundtable. Jenny Rose here. Right now I'm currently in Japan competing for Pro Wrestling Diana. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for your love. I love you all.
Thank you, Jenny Rose, over in Japan, Pro Wrestling Diana, for that message, and we hope to hear more from you. Best of luck, of course. She supports Wrestling Roundtable, and we hope you do too. And if you want to, go to our Amazon store at WrestlingRoundtable.com. If you want to get anything on Amazon, get it through our store. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about wrestling cliches now. It's not going to be a best or worst per se, but let's just talk about some of the things that are either done or said that you just pick up on. If you've been watching wrestling more than a month, I think you can start noticing some patterns. So we've seen a lot of this sort of stuff, and I'll just throw it out there first because it's one I'm fucking sick of. I am sick of heel general managers or authority figures or whatever. It seems like it's a standard in wrestling now, and it's never going to go away ever since Bischoff and McMahon, and everyone does it, from ECW to the indies to everybody. So that's one thing I'm just sick of. Any thoughts or any other ideas for cliches?
Evil foreigners. It's been done ever since wrestling has been on television.
Foreigners are evil. Boo
Evil,
them.
yeah. The Russians, the sneaky Japanese.
I like how it's Pearl Harboring somebody.
Yeah,
Remember
it's a
Monsoon used to
Gorilla
say that?
Monsoon.
Yep.
Imagine if Muhammad Hassan 9/11 somebody.
And that was the one heel that was done right, and that
For a
people
bit.
really, and then
Yeah, for a bit.
Yeah.
But what's funny about the heel foreigners one is like they take an American Samoa. He's from fucking like San Francisco or something with Yokozuna, and they take like
Like, oh, it looks Asian.
the Japanese heels, and no one thinks anything of it.
And I don't see why you should cheer for somebody just because they're from America anyway. I mean, America is full of all kinds of people, good and bad.
You know what one I just tweeted about too was I love how the Japanese would be from Japan. Everyone from America should just be from the USA.
From the USA.
Yeah, real specific there. And speaking of Japan, one thing I loved is that just because Crush threw a little super kick or sabat kick, martial arts expert Crush, yeah, I really got that from that kick he threw. I'm sure
Yep.
he's a fucking black belt in Aikido.
When you see two wrestlers sitting across the table from each other about to sign a contract, you know it's going to end with somebody standing up, throwing down their chair, and flipping up the table.
I wish that the birthday cake would be there at the same time. It's just, I hate to pick on you because you're an indie wrestler. I don't think you do it too much, but there's something indie wrestlers do now. Because it seems like in indies, there's trends, like at one point in like '04, it was double stomps. And then it's shining wizards. And it seems like everybody does this sort of stuff, but it's the slapping now that kills me. I know if you want to add some more oomph to doing a move like a drop kick or enziguri, you can slap here and there, but it's like an epidemic now where everyone's got to be slapping on every move and slapping each other. And it's so obvious to me, I can't not look at it. I'm like, we got along for decades of great drop kicks and moves without slapping on everything, and now I don't know if it's to the point where we can even go back to it. So.
This is one cliche that you reminded me of. I guess I knew it, but you really brought it to my attention when the big monster heel that usually fights Undertaker on some sort of pay-per-view ends up turning into the smiley dancing face.
All of them do it.
All of them do. We saw Great Khali, we've seen
Big
Viscera, Big Show, Mark Henry. It's after we get to the point where, all right, then I can get the title. So what are we going to do with them? All right, people start cheering them, we turn them face, and let them turn to the big huggable bear.
And then the cycle begins again.
Yep.
For someone who's there like 10 plus years, how many times has Big Show gone through that cycle himself just alone?
Yeah, it's weird looking at it now, trying to take him as a serious heel. Between him and Kane, I really want to see how many face turns, heel turns, between the both of them have had over the past even 3 years.
You've done security. I love security in wrestling because,
Oh, totally.
especially if it's wrestlers, they can take 100 punches to the face during a match. No one gets broken hands or broken jaws. But because you're not in a match now and you go to help or go break up something, you get punched, knocked
Not
out.
prepared for it. Coming from the perspective of somebody who's been a wrestler and security, I can say, as security, your primary purpose is to keep other people safe, so you're not in a defensive position. So it does hurt a lot more when you get hit.
I love imagining everyone backstage. Like, who gets chosen to run out and stop it? And who's going to decide? Because sometimes you get help, sometimes you don't. But when you do run in, you get your entrance music. Someone just happens to be ready. I imagine there's like a barcode on wrestlers so that when they run by a certain area, the music just automatically plays.
I hated it when I was a kid and I'd watch a tag team match. And the heels have the guy in the corner, and the ref has his back turned, but then they make the tag, and it's like,
What difference does it make?
Yes, it just irked me so much, and it still happens today.
What about when said tag team is going to break up? You always see the signs coming because, oh, I accidentally clotheslined you. And then it leads to what?
A match.
Yep.
Or someone turning heel, and
No one ever just goes their
knows-
separate ways.
No, it just happens. Speaking of that, what I'm sick of, it worked once back in '92, and it's been done to death now. Having the main event of pay-per-view, the two guys have a be tag team partners maybe the week or two before. It worked with Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, but after that, I think it's been done to death.
What I don't get about, let's say, WrestleMania is they used to do, of course, in the main event or some of the mid-card matches, you want to have some oomph to it, a story, and a real personal reason why you want to see this match. But every single match, there used to just be like, we're going to have this match on this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Why do we need an explanation for Taz teaming with the APA to wrestle RTC before 17? Like, can't we just announce it and people will just have the same reaction? It's just a match.
Not every match had to have a story. I mean, yeah, some sort of build-up would be okay, I guess. Maybe an interview before the match.
But when it's as flimsy as DDP is mentoring Christian how to smile, and then Christian gets sick of it, turns on him 6 days before WrestleMania, then they have a match. Couldn't you have just said Christian's going to defend the European title against DDP? Come on.
Right.
Overthinking.
Vintage DDP.
Vintage?
Yes.
Vintage?
It's not now, it will be.
Well, I mentioned something before about the tag partners. I love pantomiming in wrestling because it reminds me of silent movie actors. Because before they could express themselves verbally, a lot of the actions were more Broadway-esque and more loud and stuff. And of course, if you want everyone in the cheap seats way up to see the punch you throw so you exaggerate it and whatever, I understand all that. But what I love is when it'll be, let's say, after that tag match, and they're face-to-face, so we can hear each other, but we have to bodily get it across to the audience, so it's... And I love it's always, I'm going to pin you 1, 2, 3. No one ever goes for a submission.
No, I'm not going to submit you.
Or I'm going to win by count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or ROH 11, 12, blah, blah, blah.
Whenever RVD throws a chair at a guy, why don't they just move out of the way? They always got to catch him and they always got kicked in the freaking face. Jesus Christ.
I love the collective groan that goes throughout a building when a ref gets bumped. Yeah, exactly. Oh, what's going to happen now? We know shenanigans.
Well, you know, how about when ref gets bumped? Now you'll see it more than ever. Everyone starts looking in the aisle. Who's coming?
Oh, yeah.
Who's coming? Who's coming? You see all the crowd. Who's coming? Who's
Well,
coming?
now that we got a wrestler on the show, I want to ask you one because we know pretty much since the 80s, we pretty much have the Ricky Morton sort of structure for tag matches where you get the heat on someone, then it's the hot tag, and oh, punch, punch, body slam, whatever. Why does every tag match seem to have to fall in there? There's even some matches where there's multiple heat spots and hot tags. Why does tag matches have to be always one way?
I don't know, man. I imagine that's just a natural flow of things. Maybe if you watch some wrestling from different areas, you might see a different style of match. I don't know.
I think I've seen a lot of wrestling in my day, so maybe I missed that part. But one that I love before we go to our first break is body slamming the fat guy. This came back when Vader was on Raw and Heath Slater went to body slam him and he couldn't. I was like, I love that because it used to be a big deal. Hogan, even if it was Boss Man, it would be a feat if he body slammed him, let alone a power slam like on fucking Bundy at WrestleMania 2 or the big one, Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. I thought Hogan was the strongest man in the world after doing that.
I thought the biggest one was Kane body slamming Great Khali.
Oh, sure, definitely. Way up there. But even like Yokozuna, when he got body slammed by Luger and Ahmed Johnson, that was supposed to be a feat. But then I remember...
Ahmed's was more impressive.
That may be so, but I remember a match in 1998 between D'Lo Brown and Vader. It might have been Raw or whatever, but Vader's a big guy, so he clearly fits into this category, and D'Lo just body slammed him casually and then went for a moonsault. And I was like, what?
Well, consider the wrestler that you're talking about and also consider his level of experience at that time. D'Lo is one of the guys that came into wrestling fairly quickly without a whole lot of background. That was also a time where a lot of stuff was happening with not a whole lot of focus on what was important and what wasn't.
Well, I'm glad that it came back, at least recently, with Heath Slater, because I love body slamming the fat guy. But we're going to take a break and come back with more cliches when we return. Okay. Wow, I used to have... we switched hairdos. Pretty much.
What's a good shot?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, we all set to go now?
Thought it was the best round table. Oh my god, I was crying.
You didn't like the video, Cam?
Woo!
Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. We can also be viewed on GFL.TV, that's Go Fight Live, as well as Pro Wrestling Respect. You can download the digital version of Pro Wrestling Respect or get the DVD with tons of extras at ProWrestlingRespect.com. The download is also at HighSpots.com. And rejoining the panel is Alex Payne and Will F. Brooks. And we were talking about wrestling cliches, and this is one of my new favorites. The WrestleMania sign every year.
Oh.
Everyone always points at the WrestleMania sign, and they get their nice cinematic shots of that. Eventually, I want to see the stage versus the sign main event WrestleMania.
Really, you like all 10 stare-downs every time we have a Raw? One I don't like, I've grown out of it, the Superman comeback. I can't stand it anymore. The hulking up, the Cena like getting powerbombed 10 times but still makes the wins.
Well, that's
match.
what makes the crowd hot.
I just
like,
don't. I'm
it's
not
like-
into
it
it. But
goes back
also,
to the hot tag
even like
for-
even
That's
with
a long
like even
tradition.
like how many Flair matches did it happen? Like where he had a guy in the corner and chopped about 3 times. The guy didn't sell shit.
Well, from Chief J Strongbow to now, it's pretty much always worked.
What about the infamous leg on the rope? Leg on the rope will always save. Imagine if UFC get knocked out, but your foot's on the cage. That will save you.
I love how everyone knows the opponent's right there and still goes for the pin. It's kind of like when Razor Ramon would always go for the Razor's Edge right near the rope,
And
he's
he
going to get back
backdropped
trapped.
and get backdropped over.
Don't powerbomb Kidman. But I also love when wrestlers walk to the back and they have to sell getting hurt. There's 2 ways. Either this, that's the most common one, or this one. That's the other one. I love watching that.
Don't think up the box. Promos.
Oh boy, there's tons
Everybody's
here.
been talking about where on the street is. It's like, really? Like,
They start promos with, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is, like we don't fucking know. I guess there's a new viewer every week. The name graphics don't help. People been asking me, or people keep walking up to me on the street. No one fucking walks up to you on the street and says that shit.
you know something?
Let me tell you something.
This Sunday night. Or how about during promos where they say the wrestler's full name? You know Shawn Michaels, HBK. This Sunday night, I'm going to take that IC belt away from you, Shawn Michaels.
Now that we have a guy who used to wrestle in Ring of Honor on here, this is something I know Ring of Honor did a lot. I don't know so much about everyone else, but I loved how they would have, let's call them Legends segments, where we bring out the local whatever legend and Baron von Raschke or whoever the fuck, and there's always a wrestler from the roster coming in and saying something, and then they get their comeuppance.
that's a lot of like wrestling shows too.
I understand that, but I'm just saying after a while it gets fucking contrived. Like
Yeah.
Heath Slater happens to make a catchphrase where the guy's there every week.
Every time there's a tournament, there's always a heel who gets a bye. Every single time. $1 Million Man, Mabel, they all get buys.
Well, speaking of heels, this happened to Sting a lot too, but there's a few guys where it seems like someone has turned on this guy every fucking time. DDP in WCW, Hulk Hogan in WWF, in ECW even, Tommy Dreamer. It got so fucking ridiculous at one point. Like, everybody turns on Tommy Dreamer that in like 99 or 2000, they did some fucking tag match where a football player came in, I never heard of him, of course, and he turned on Tommy Dreamer
Oh
too.
my god.
Unfucking real.
It used to be just Raw, but now it's all wrestling shows with promos.
20 minutes
I
talking
can't
segments.
stand it. How about this? You
Open with a
open the
match
show and then
or
boom,
something,
there's a
you know,
match. And
exciting.
then let the story tell itself. It's always open with
I love the implication of that because that means promoters change up the show every week. Or they didn't have anything planned up until that 20-minute promo impromptu at the beginning, and now we have our main event. So I guess they just go in and book these buildings without a plan.
The best part is the wrestlers are the ones making the matches too. Like, oh, I'm going to challenge you. There's like, we hate general managers or authority figures, but it's kind of nice to have someone come out and say there's a plan.
No, but
we had a main event scheduled tonight, and you think you're just going to go and make your own match. Someone needs to be an actual authority, and who's
No.
not like the evil authority guy, but someone who's more of the straight man authority figure.
Something going on there.
There
But
is.
You know what I hate, man? Dusty finishes.
yeah,
You
I
know
was
what
gonna
though?
bring that
Ref
up
bumps
before
I don't
with ref
mind
bumps,
in
yeah.
certain, as long as every now and then I don't mind them. Dusty finishes I hate, especially for blow-off matches. You're building up the face, you're gonna get the title, you're gonna get the bad guy, and all of a sudden he does it. You get the crowd goes nuts, and then it's like, oh, sorry guys, we fucked with you. It's not happening. Swear, fuck you.
Let's
You
ask
know.
Dusty Rhodes after it was named for him and Jim Crockett and Vern Gagne how well that works out for business. But there's a cliche amongst fans, and I wanted to bring it up here because we heard it a lot this year. Wins and losses don't matter. Really, First of all, taking aside the fact that this is supposed to pretend to be a real sport, and what's real sport's about, winning and fucking losing.
Exactly.
Okay, we get that kayfabe sense, but what they're trying to make the case for is the artistic sense and whatever. Bull fucking shit. How often does that actually work? But what really brought it to mind this year was John Cena and Brock Lesnar. The same fucking internet fans who always complain about wins and losses don't matter, blah, 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 were the exact same fucking people bitching about John Cena winning.
They still bitch and complain about if their internet darling doesn't typically win a match. So, oh, they lost and therefore they're being buried. Which
Every time they lose, they get buried.
That's an
It's like,
internet
oh,
meme.
God.
But the guy who's eventually going to win the world title loses like 5-6 times before he even gets the thing.
I feel like that's
Why
more
can't the
recent.
man just win the title
Definitely.
on his first try? It's awesome. You remember those sort of things. Samoa Joe, for instance, he wins the ROH World
Bret
Title.
Hart did it.
And you remember it. Bret Hart, Hogan, Warrior. Jesus, it's all these moments where the world champion wins it their first shot. And you waste it with, oh, this guy failed this time, he failed this time, he failed this time. If he fails once or twice, okay. But fourth or fifth chance? Come on.
I mean, who cares at that point? Cliche that I still love, huge pops for returns. When Brock returned, when Jericho returned, I guess that's kind of refreshing. One of the oldest things that I always love about wrestling. Even for a return match, how there'll be a pause before the music, such as when
Make
Bret
it
Hart
more
came back
dramatic.
Or the
as
lights going out and
Yeah.
Sabu's there or whatever.
or
but
Ultimate Warrior's return, or Bret Hart's return at Survivor Series '96. That's always a thing that I love.
one thing everybody loves is when there's a new champion and the announcement is, and new!
Yep.
You know one I really hate? Your finish, my finish, your finish, my finish, your finish. You would have finished like 3 or 4 times.
I hate it when they switch and it's Undertaker getting chokeslammed by The Rock and Undertaker rock bottoming Rock. Give me a fucking break. I hate that shit. But now that we have a wrestler on once again, I wanted to ask you about one that's still relatively new, and I don't understand it. Screaming the guy's name before you hit a move. Like Eddie Edwards, Davey! Boom! This is like a big thing on the indies now. I don't
think
get
it's
it.
more of a Japanese thing, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, because when I wrestled over in Noah, you would hear guys yell someone's name before they go and like hit them with a move or hit them with a strike or whatever. It's the way they do combat or whatever. It's something they just adopt.
Why can't they be like Shawn Michaels and say I love you and then kick you?
They can do that too.
I think it gives away your position. But let's see what Jenny Rose is doing. All right, great. Now, one other before we wrap up here, and this is one that I love, is the babyface gets the big win at WrestleMania. Wins the title. I think that's one that should really never change.
You should never go out of style.
Yeah, that's something that it's WrestleMania, it's the big show, it's tradition, and we'll see how well it worked out when it didn't happen. But hopefully you enjoyed this talk on the Monday Night War and wrestling cliches. We'll be back. Yes, Wrestling Roundtable's not over just yet. We will be back. And when we do, we're going to talk about ECW. Yes, we will finally directly cover Extreme Championship Wrestling, and we'll be back with more. So for the panel of Rock and Roll Mike Sydal, Orlando O'Neill, Alex the American Psycho Payne, Will Effin Brooks, Rodney LeConte, and someone else running around.
You shall!
Along with Jenny Rose. Thank you very much for watching the Wrestling Roundtable. I'm Eric Santamaria, and join us on WrestlingRoundtable.com and everywhere else we are, Twitter, Facebook, etc.